Hello guys, my name is Dan Johnson and welcome back to my channel, and I've lost my mic clip, hence why I'm holding it all the time. But we're actually going to be talking about Survivors of the Flux and the predictions going in to the final 2 episodes of Series 13. And as we get closer towards the end, it's becoming harder to predict things because you realise that there's no plan here anymore. It should have been laid out, or there should be elements that we might not see as part of the plan yet that turn out to be the plan later, and stuff like that. So we'll have to see whether it actually all pans out. But I still have a few things this week, including a kind of fantasy cliffhanger, I suppose, for episode 5. I thought that it would be cool if the series that is been advertised as a 6-part epic or 6-chapter epic to have a really, really cool cliffhanger for the final episode that kind of brings everything together, but we'll talk about that when the time comes. First, we need to talk about Unit. So from the trailer, we know that Unit is back, and with that, Kate Stewart. It'd be really interesting to see what happened to her from the last time we saw her and now. I'd love to see some references to the Big Finish stuff that Kate Stewart did. I think since her last appearance, and a reference to Josh Carter or something like that would be really cool. But something that we're probably not going to get. But in terms of actual things that probably will happen, I think that we'll see Kate do one of two things. It's either the rebirth of Unit after a revolution, or she'll be fighting for them to bring back Unit after the Flux, because the Flux has devastated everything, and the Earth is, supposedly relatively unharmed, because of the Lupari. So now that she's on Earth, they know that something bad has happened, because, they're not idiots. They know that there are Sontarans and Cybermen and Daleks in separate sections of the universe. And sure, there's probably other survivors, but I think that a big point of contact for those species, if they're going for world domination, is going to be getting to Earth and defeating Earth, and the Lupari. Kate will want to develop some kind of defense there, and that will give the reason for Unit to come back with a bit of a bang. And it's so good in my head to see the idea that you can have this huge scale to things, because the way that they've done this series has been huge in terms of scale, and if they can add that scale with Unit, we could really get a big driving force into the final episode in terms of like a militaristic aspect. I personally think this episode is going to be split into 4 plots. The first plot being the division with the Doctor. I doubt that she'll appear very often, but she might get a few scenes of exposition. The second one being the Unit return and whatever's going on in Earth. I think she might be talking to the Great Serpent, and within that scene he's also got the TARDIS, so maybe that's bringing him closer towards the plot. Maybe he's taking it as some kind of time travel collector kind of item. Maybe that's like his reward, I guess. Like he's just bought it because he thought it was a cool piece of time tech, and he's now living in the 21st century, and that's why Kate's after him as like a kind of entity to watch out for. Then you have the 1800s, 1900s mix bit with Yaz and Graham. Yaz and John Bishop, or Dan. That's my own name, and I can't believe I forgot that. Between Yaz and Dan, and going back to their stranded plotline, I think that they'll probably learn about the mines, those tunnel things, what the point of them is, perhaps, and then we go into the final one, which is whatever the Ravagers are doing during this story. I imagine that they're hatching their evil plan during this one so that they win at the end and then become so powerful that they're incredibly hard to beat in the final episode. But we'll have to see about all of that, because there's a lot up in the air with this one. Right, okay, so this is my idea for the cliffhanger of this episode. Now, this is not really a prediction, but this is just something that excites me, and I want to talk about it. And this has gone through all of the episodes previously. So, first off, I want to say that we're going to get a cliffhanger that's going to feature lots of different villains, such as the Sontarans. We know that Dan Starkey has played an older veteran Sontaran in the first episode, but then didn't appear in the second episode, and I said this before in a couple of videos back, that it was weird that he never appeared, and I wonder whether he's been saved for a future event. Perhaps this is it. We know that the Sontarans have taken over parts of Earth, and we know that this year we've had four villains, I believe, or four returning villains, being the Cybermen, the Daleks, the Weeping Angels, and the Sontarans. I think that it would be cool if those kind of elements come together in some form, so that each person or somebody has an element of the cliffhanger that features one of them. Maybe the Sontarans start to invade different sectors of Earth with Belt and Vinder in the middle of it. Maybe the Cybermen and the Daleks have another fight or something. Just something along those elements would mean that we have a huge amount of scale and scope to everything that's happening to do with the Flux and Survivors of the Flux. I imagine that we're going to get Bell and Vinder together, and then the cliffhanger would be that they get trapped, or they find themselves in the middle of a war, which is how I see it. Perhaps the Weeping Angels are sent back in time to capture someone else, maybe Yaz as a bargaining chip, maybe Dan as well as a bargaining chip, maybe going back into the past and taking the Roof Doctor, something like that, to bring her back. All of that kind of stuff would be an interesting cliffhanger on that end. The Sontarans waging war, or just going for revenge from the Doctor, or possibly even Dan, being somebody that actually did go and, crash the ships into each other in the modern times. So maybe that could be an interesting element to the cliffhanger. I just see it being absolutely huge. I see the Ravagers at full power, the Sontarans charging the Daleks, the Cybermen, the Sontarans waging war against each other, Unit getting stuck behind some barricade of some sort, metaphysical or physical, army invading Earth, the Luparia being destroyed or have been destroyed, but like I talked about earlier with the flashbacks, and there's no more defense apart from Unit. Perhaps that would be an interesting element to the cliffhanger. All of that kind of stuff I just actually think will be really, really cool. We need something really big, and I think it needs to be multi-layered. What are your thoughts on that? Could there be something I've missed out on there? So please let me know down in the comments. So yeah, nothing particularly concrete with this one, because I don't think this episode has much of a plot beyond the main arc, if that makes sense. I think that this story is going to be the setup for the finale. It's just got to deliver a really cool cliffhanger. I think I'd be quite happy with it. There's a lot of interesting elements and the possibility of a couple of surprises. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to it. And as we come towards the finale, in previous years, I've always found that part 1s can be a lot cooler than part 2s, because part 1s get you more excited, if that makes sense. You have wars raging and stuff, or the beginning of those wars raging, and leaving it at that kind of doesn't quite fill the void and makes you incredibly excited for what's next. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll stop rambling now. Hopefully I can find my mic clip thing before Sunday. Fingers crossed. Otherwise I'll be holding it again like an absolute loon. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure you go like, subscribe if you're new, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.